Hello once again, I'm Cosmic, and today we're going to be taking a look at indie survival game This War of Mine, which was developed and published by 11-Bit Studios. The game itself places you in the role of a group of civilians trying to survive a city gripped by civil war. The developers wanted to create a game that allows you to see war from a different perspective. Instead of playing a soldier on one of the two sides as you do in most war-themed games, they wanted to create an experience that allows you to play as the civilian and what they go through during a war. Before I get into the mechanics, graphics, sound and content of the game, I want to tell you that if you don't want to watch the whole review, please do make sure you watch the second half, and I will tell you why this is one of the best indie games I have played this year by far. This game also supports the charity War Child, and at the title screen of the game you can click on the icon and go to their site to donate to their great cause. As the game starts, you'll find you're in control of 3 civilians in a shelled house. Each civilian has a different background, inventory space and main skill, for example, good cook or skilled scavenger. Your first objective is to scavenge through the house to find materials so you can build basic equipment like a cooker for food, beds, a heater or other essentials. The aim of the game is to get your group of civilians to survive through the war, and if they all die, the game will be over. Each time you play the game, you are assigned a random group of characters. Not only is this random, but the length of each playthrough is random. Sometimes the war can last a mere 30 days, other times it can last months. Just like in real life, the length of a war is never certain. Both the locations on the map and the things you'll find there are randomly generated too, which ensures replayability, so each time you play through, you will have a different experience in some form. Graphically, the game is pretty good. The way the art direction has been done is fantastic and very well thought out. The game is a grim one, and that's reflected in its dark colour palette. The game looks like it has been done with a charcoal colour scheme, and then they've added like a pencil shaded overlay which blurs the lines between a computer generated graphics and hand drawn art. Sound effects are top notch also, everything from bombs going off in the background to the opening of doors. The soundtrack of the game is wondrous, providing great atmosphere and emotion in the background as you play. The controls themselves are fairly simplistic, and nearly everything simply requires a mouse click. Once a character is selected, you can use the left mouse button to move them or interact with an object. Clicking with the right mouse button has the same effect but makes the character run instead of walk, so keep your fingers nimble as you never know when you might need to get away quickly. The game works from a day and night cycle. It's too dangerous to venture out into the war-torn city during the day, so the day is used for keeping your civilians' needs met, like feeding them, making sure those who are up all night guarding or scavenging get some sleep, and of course treating the sick and wounded. The day is the only time that you'll be able to craft and make equipment and build items. In terms of crafting, you automatically start off with a basic workshop in your base, from which you can build basic things you need to survive, such as a heater, beds, water collectors, etc. You can also build other more specialised workshops, such as a metal workshop which you can use to upgrade and craft weapons, ammo and armour. All these workshops can be upgraded so that you can gain access to more items to craft, such as upgrading a herbal station will eventually allow you to craft your own medicine and bandages. Everything costs something in the game. After all, it's all about survival. Crafting items will cost you parts and materials, which you have to gather or trade for. But before you even consider crafting more complex items, or even basic ones, first you need to see to the needs of your group. Each member will need food, and this can be done in various ways. First, should you come across raw uncooked food and vegetables, you can cook these at a cooker to create meals, but you'll also need water and fuel. You can also eat vegetables without cooking them, but it doesn't satisfy hunger like a proper meal. You also have canned food, which is usually pretty rare to find and very valuable. Just one canned food counts as a complete meal, and they can be a lifesaver if you're low on other food supplies. Your group also have other individual needs. For example, perhaps they are a smoker or a coffee drinker. While not meeting these needs will not be a life or death matter, it can affect their morale. At the bottom right hand side of the screen, all your character portraits are displayed. It's also worth mentioning that the photos in the character portraits are the developers of the game. I'm not sure if all of them are, but I know there is quite a few. You can click on either of these to switch between characters, or you can click the bio button, which will open their bio. The bio of a character will not only give you information about them, but it's like a living diary. It will constantly be updated, giving you insight into what each character thinks about the events that take place. Once the night comes along, it's time to decide what you want to do with your people. The night, like the day, is dangerous, but it's safe enough to go and try and scavenge for food and supplies. When the night comes, you'll enter the city map screen. This is where you can assign who does what for the night, be it guarding the shelter from looters, sleeping, and of course assigning someone to go out scavenging. Truthfully, scavenging is where the game comes to life. The locations you can scavenge vary and more are added as you progress. You can visit everything from houses, schools and hospitals to supermarkets, military outposts and more. Moving your cursor over a location will tell you what you can expect in that location. Not only does it give you an idea of what supplies can be found there, but it will also tell you if there have been reports of people inside and if there's possible danger. Once your selected character is at a scavenging location, they will automatically be in scavenging mode, which includes the sneak stance. It's often best to try and get what you need quickly and quietly, as drawing unwanted attention can have lethal consequences. So, you scour the location and you will come across various obstacles like mounds of rubble, locked doors, and grates and even bars. With the right tools, which you can craft at your home base, you can overcome these problems. However, tools are either one use like lockpicks or have limited durability like the shovel. You will be able to scavenge the same location more than once. After all, you won't be able to fit an entire location's resources into your little backpack. This is helpful as it means you know the lay of the land when returning to a previous location, but make sure you don't get complacent. Just because a location was void of life the first time doesn't mean other scavengers or worse won't be there upon your return. While out in the city, you will come across all manners of people. Some will be just like you and just trying to get through. Inevitably though, you may come across individuals who will want to do you harm. This may be some looters, raiders, or even soldiers. Dealing with hostiles very much depends on the situation. Factors include how well armed you are, how armed they are, and how many hostiles you're facing. Often sneaking past or making a run for it will ensure your survival, but you may find yourself having to have a fight. Sounds from rooms are a good way to detect enemies. If you have a room where you have no line of sight because the door is shut or something like that, sounds can be heard and seen with red circles appearing. So if you hear footsteps, it could well be an armed soldier or just a scurrying rat. You'll never know until you look. Which moves me to the combat of the game. As a group of civilians, you're not the most combat ready bunch around. The combat in the game is very basic, and for the most part it's well executed with a few problems, but it does provide balance to the rest of the game. Once you've selected the weapon that you want to use from the left hand side of the screen, you will leave scavenge mode and enter combat mode. This differs in two main ways. First, obviously, you can attack people by clicking the icon that appears over them. Secondly, you'll be able to crouch behind some objects, such as a wall and a doorway. This can be useful in a firefight, but if you only have a knife or something that requires close range and you're facing down the barrel of a gun, my advice is 9 times out of 10, just run. Honestly, if you're looking for a combat heavy game, this really won't be for you. Yes, you can fight, but it's all about survival, knowing when to run and picking your battles carefully. A good example of this is when I was in a house and I read that a murderer was around, so I thought, hey, I have an axe, let's take him out. So I did. However, little did I know that he wasn't alone, and he had a fully armed to the teeth gang with him that shot me to shreds in like 2 seconds flat, causing me to lose my best scavenger in the game as he had more inventory space than the other characters in my group. Often, while out scavenging, you'll come across a house that still has occupants in. Now, they have supplies and you don't, so what do? Well, 2 things. You can sneak in and steal, which may have some consequences, one of which could be lethal. You could also trade with people. This is often a great way to get rid of surplus supplies that you have for others that you actually need. Sometimes during the day, a trader will actually come to your door, and this has actually saved me personally from starving on several occasions. While we're on the subject of stealing and such, let's talk about the game events, moral choices and consequences. Throughout the game, you'll have random events both day and night that require you to make a decision. Inaction in itself is a decision in this game, which I bloody love to see. Like I've mentioned, the game is grim, and it's all about the realities of war from the civilian point of view. Not only this, but many of the events that you'll see in game are based from real life events from wars across the globe, from places like Kosovo. I'm not going to lie, there is some teeth-grittingly heartbreaking content in this game. An example of an experience I had was when I sent one of my group to a supermarket to look for food. While hiding behind a door, I saw a woman talking to a soldier asking him for food. The soldier replied that for food, he wanted her to have sex with him. She stood her ground and said no. Then the soldier tried to force himself upon her. Now bear in mind, this was in probably the first 2 hours that I'd actually played the game for the first time, and I sat there literally clenching my fist with my mouth open with both horror and rage. With nothing but a kitchen knife, I decided to burst through the door and kill him, even though he had an assault rifle in his hands. With a bit of luck and a bit of speed, I managed to kill him due to his back being turned. The woman ran off, and not only had I gained from that point due to killing him a very good assault rifle, but the game had me so emotionally involved at that point that I felt proud for doing something good. When my character returned home, everyone's bio and comments read that they were glad that I had helped the woman and that it improved their morale. At that point it made me think, what would have happened if I had done nothing or ran? While at the time these options didn't spring to mind, it is in fact possible to make these choices. Even better, the fact that it wasn't a scripted event, that I had to choose from some dialogue options, the whole thing was told to me and experienced through a combination of gameplay and dialogue, and not through a sit-back cutscene. Helping others can sometimes reap material rewards, but other times it won't. You have to remember that it's about survival too, so you have to ask yourself, is it worth it? Is it worth putting your neck out there to help a stranger? I mean, say you're carrying food home for 2 or more people, and they depend on you for that food. Are you going to let them starve to help some hungry war orphans? The game is full of moral dilemmas, and yes, it's great to experience that in a video game, but it also leaves you with a strange feeling. On one hand, I sit there really enjoying this game, and then on the other hand, I sit feeling uncomfortable about enjoying the experience. One of the main purposes of the game is to expose what happens to civilians in real war. Some of the game's content is based on real life events, so I'm left contemplating my own moral compass at enjoying a game based on the horrors of war. I'm left feeling sad that human beings actually have to go through this in reality. And I'm left fucking mortified that the woman I saved in the game could have been a real person, and she may not have had someone who came and helped her. Frankly, good. In fact, great. It should give me pause. It should make me question my own thought processes and views. This is what video games as a medium are about. It's about an interactive experience that invokes thought and emotion. I certainly feel that the game's vision has been achieved. As a video game, it nearly hits all the right marks, with solid mechanics, great art and sound, but what tops it off for me personally is the events and its sandbox nature. Not only are you creating your own story as you go through, but it's a deeply meaningful one. The game has both feel-good experiences and experiences that can make you feel sick to your stomach. Through the characters, events and gameplay, a powerful message is sent to you as a player, and I really grew attached to every character I had in my party and even the people that I met. The whole game was a gripping experience that left me as a gamer wanting more, but as a human being truly distraught at the realities of civilian life in a war-torn city. For all these reasons and more, this War of Mine has easily become one of my favourite games of the year, and is probably my indie game of the year by leaps and bounds. There is a lot of mature content in the game, so it's certainly not for younger audiences. But for everyone else, I certainly would recommend picking it up and experiencing it for yourself. And that's this War of Mine. Thank you so much for watching and listening. As always, do share and subscribe to the channel, and if you do pick up the game, let me know what you think and some of the experiences that you had in the game in the comments section below. And I will see you next time.